Okay, today's video, we're going to talk about influencer marketing. And whether or not that's better than regular paid advertising that you can do online, or if you wouldn't even include offline with that, but for the most part, online paid ads is where it's at today. It's also what I know the most about, and what this channel is about. So I'm going to put into frame of reference which one of these are better. The short answer to this is influencer marketing is better in specific instances, and paid ads is basically better in all other instances. And I'm going to explain why. So there's definitely pros and cons to each, but depending on what you're selling, one is basically your way better bet. So I'm going to go through some different instances where we did influencer marketing versus paid advertising, give you some idea as to how much better that worked out overall in general. And so with that, you'll have everything that you need to be able to decide whether you should use one or the other for your brand / company. So getting into the content here. So for the most part, there are three types of companies right off the bat I would tell you to consider using for influencer marketing first, or in general. So of these three things that I would use influencer marketing versus online paid advertising, the first of which would be you guys that have abstract or new ideas. So if what you sell is really, really complicated, in and itself wouldn't be necessarily enough for me to decide to do influencer marketing versus online paid advertising. Because you could convey complicated concepts with a really good sales video or really good landing page and get the job done and send the right traffic from paid ads online to your page or your video and end up doing pretty well. I've done this many times, of course. However, when you combine the really complicated thing to explain the benefits to the user on, and the fact that it's a new idea that people don't necessarily search out. So in other words, if Google ads won't work for your business because people are not searching for what you sell, it's too new of an idea, or maybe it's not even an idea that's going to work necessarily, you'll find out over time. The fact they're not searching it out and it's complicated, it's very, very hard to get paid ads to work. Of course you can do interruption marketing where you have banner ads show up for people across the web and so forth, and still send them to a really good sales video or landing page that explains all the way through what your offer is. Showing that ad is still, and getting people's attention, and then furthermore getting them to your page and getting them to trust what you're saying. That's actually quite a hard endeavor there. And if you had to do it, by the way, I would put on my banner ad what the benefits were. I wouldn't even talk about that product or service. I would explain how much money you're going to make, how much weight it's going to make you lose, whatever. And then once you got their attention that way, spend and do your best effort on your landing page or where you're taking them to after they click on the ad to explain how you're going to get those results with this new product or service that you're offering. So anyway, if you're in that situation, which again, paid ads technically could work if you were really good at it, the influencer marketing is good for somebody who doesn't know how to run paid ads, we'll just say. It's a much, much better option because of the ease of actually doing it. The influencer does the hard work or heavy lifting of selling it for you and explaining the concept. Secondly though, second category of people that influencer ads are going to be better than paid ads online, which is people who have no distinct competitive edge in what you're doing. You see, for instance, VPN companies using influencer marketing. Why? Because most VPN companies don't have a distinctive competitive edge. There's no one thing that you could say your VPN software does that other software out there doesn't do already. And if they did have an edge, the other VPN companies would pick it up and it would no longer be an edge. So it's a super hyper competitive market that the influencer marketing is in and itself what the edge becomes or differentiator becomes. because my favorite YouTuber here says that this is the VPN he likes using, so I'm going to choose this VPN. That's your differentiator. So you're essentially paying for the differentiator that you have, which, by the way, the VPN space, I'm a little bit of, conspiracy minded here. I've heard nobody say it before, but I believe, my opinion is, I don't see how these companies can afford to run influencer campaigns for these VPN services that are like $8 a month. Yes, the person might stay for 5 years. That's still only a $500 sale. And the amount of money that they're spending with these influencers, these big ones, to push what they have, and the fact that everybody's seen a VPN ad before necessarily, so it's not something that's going to be like getting a high click-through rate on, or shouldn't say click-through rate, but specifically a purchase rate from having that VPN being mentioned on the channel. I personally think that the government specifically doesn't like the fact that they can't track you online. So what better way to fix the situation would be to create your own VPN organizations. Not saying that they're all like this, but and then get people to buy into it. So I wouldn't necessarily look into what they're doing, for that at least, as to any indication that that's profitable. So anyway, it's my opinion. So if you're not competitive, that becomes your competitive edge. Now, a third type of company, product or service, where influencer ads would actually probably beat the ROI you can get dollar per dollar over paid ads, and that is low trust industries or companies. Actually, I put in parentheses here. So if what you sell has very low trust, people don't trust it in general, such as anything like the hair regrowth space, a product that's supposed to help you regrow your hair. We had a company that sold a hair regrowth helmet where we did influencer marketing. The influencer marketing did better than running ads outside Google search for that exact item than running other ads because of the trust factor. People didn't believe it. The fact that an influencer says it works, then people are willing to believe it. I put companies here specifically because if your company had an issue where you weren't trusted, maybe you've got some bad reviews, maybe you've had some bad publicity out there, there's bad reputation being spread about your company, you can overcome all of that by being featured by an affluent influencer online. It completely bypasses all that other stuff that could show up on Google about your company. I know because I've seen it myself. Can't list any specific names here, but it's one of the main ways you dig yourself out of a hole. So if you can't get any sales because you have bad reviews, you do influencer marketing. That gets sales going up again, and then the new customers can leave new feedback, which can bury old stuff, or in general, it just makes it so that the bad press, if you will, or bad reviews isn't even a factor. Because once somebody recommends something to you that you trust their opinion, the reviews don't matter anymore for the most part. Not to say they don't matter at all, but they don't matter enough. If you don't believe me, go ahead and look up different products or services, if you will, mainly products, that other big YouTuber influencers sell, and go ahead and look at the reviews of those products online. Most of the time, the reviews aren't that great. Why? Because the influencer doesn't need to have a good product to get people to buy it. They're buying it based upon their likeness and reputation in and itself. One example here, Alex Becker. Okay, now don't kill me, Alex, but ultimately, it's a perfect example of this. Which he already sold the company, so he ain't gonna care anymore anyway. The software that he sold, the tracking software, which I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I'm drawing a blank here, but he offered a tracking software that's supposed to help you track your ads more so than what you can get normally done through Facebook ads and so forth. It also has like lessons on how to do online advertising and so forth. If you go read the reviews on Google, on the ones that rank on the first page for that service/product in one, they're terrible, terrible. We're talking 1-star reviews. Yet he was able to still build that company up enough to sell it for like $100 million. There's a point in which you have so much clout that reviews aren't going to affect you anymore. And you just stop worrying about it. It becomes a non-factor. And you could borrow that clout to do the same thing. It's so powerful, they can do the same thing for you, just marketing a product that you sell. So it doesn't matter if it's the product they sell or somebody else's product. It makes everything else kind of a moot point in terms of, should I trust what this company says or should I not? It fixes that problem entirely. So anyway, those are 3 specific instances where influencer marketing I've personally seen do better than paid advertising, and for the reasons I mentioned. So moving forward here, influencers will generate 200 to 100 times more sales per view or per impression, or impression meaning number of times that your ad slash times that your video is seen, your mention on by your influencer is seen by their audience, because people are trained to put stock in trusted recommendations more than anything. Read some stats recently, and also prior leading up to this particular video I'm making here, that like 70% of purchase decisions that occur online are a result of people getting recommendations from people that they know online or other influencers. So there's a lot of purchases that occur from people doing their own research, but for the most part, people get their initial ideas about who to buy from other people they trust. They don't just randomly pick anything, because there's too many scams and schemes out there. That's also why, by the way, influencers were getting away, and still to this day, but way more so like 2-3 years ago, with those meme coins, or they call them shit coins, different cryptocurrencies that these companies would put together a project, get an influencer to promote them, and then invest in that cryptocurrency coin before the influencer would mention it, and then as soon as their influencer's audience would start buying into it, they would sell. It's like a classic pump and dump scheme. And ultimately, that they've seen so many other people get scammed buying these coins before, but they didn't necessarily care. And the influencer didn't care because the reputation is so strong. Even if they ripped their viewers off, they still came back and would keep watching the videos and so forth. So I lost my train of thought here a little bit of what my original point was. So I'll just basically move on to the next point here. So the main thing is with the influencers is you need recommendations, not mentions, okay? As that is where the true results are at. So if you're talking, because there's 2 main ways that you can do so-called influencer marketing, which you can get somebody to just shout you out or mention your company, product, service, whatever, on a video or on a social media post from that influencer, or you could send that product or service to them to get them to try it out, and they could mention what their review of it is. You want the latter. You want influencers to review your product or service. It's certainly harder to get that done, but that's where the true money making comes in. Because going back to just what I was saying before, if the influencer recommends that product or service, it literally could be a complete scam and people will still buy it. On the flip side, if they're just, saying, this is brought to you by Tish Henley. Tish Henley. Everybody knows that's a commercial. It doesn't get nearly the pull that the review will get. And for that matter, the paid advertising will actually do better than the mention by the influencer, because at least with the paid ads, it's going to be cheaper per eyeball that is seeing it, and you can do extra levels of targeting with your paid advertising. You simply can't do with the shout out that you're going to get from that influencer. To give you an example, you can actually make sure that somebody who's been on your competitor's site before will see your ad, and so and then you take that and you layer that on with other things. You can say, if somebody was looking for hair regrowth products and they were on one of my direct competitors' websites, I want my ad to show up. Why? Because I know if they're on my direct competitors' websites and they're interested in regrowing their hair using a product, then I fairly likely know that person will be interested in my product that does hair regrowth. And the fact that they've been on 3 other competitors' websites, the likelihood that they're going to buy something in our space is quite high. Versus, if you ultimately, even if you were to get a mention on a YouTube channel, for instance, about hair regrowth products, right? You still wouldn't have the ability to make sure your ad, that your mention of your product on that channel was for people that have been on at least 3 other direct competitors' websites. So the paid advertising, you can actually dial in your targeting much further than what you can do through the shout out on an influencer's YouTube channel or Instagram post or what have you. So there becomes a point with the paid advertising which you can, if you learn enough about who your customer is, the paid advertising is going to always work. It's only a question if you can understand it enough and narrow down your ads enough to know how to make it work. You may have to have, like for instance, when we were selling granite countertops, granite countertop installation for a company that did that locally, we found that the person had to have searched for a installer in the recent past, and also that person has to be looking like they are moving soon itself on top of that. And if they did both of those, they were actually profitable. Why? Because a person who normally is going to buy granite countertop installation is the most serious when they're about to do it in a house that they're about to move into, versus if they're thinking about getting it in their existing house, they're kind of like mulling it over. So the fact that they're getting ready to move into a place indicates that person's super serious, more so than the typical other type of granite countertop installation buyer. So that's just one example of where we figured out in that market what makes a customer the most likely to purchase, and then combine those targeting features to have a campaign that will work. Anyway, so paid advertising, you can do that all day long. You can actually stack up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things that all need to occur for a person to be eligible to see your ads, and there'll be a point in which you learn enough and you narrow your ads down enough. The ad campaign is in front of like the perfect of the perfect, as perfect could be person. It's the perfect candidate for your product or service, to where the ad campaign is profitable. Because if you get your click-through rate up on your ad, because it's super relevant for that person you're getting it in front of with all those targeting options, the cost that you're paying for a click to your website becomes so low that it's almost impossible to not make money. You can get what you're paying for a click to your website down to 10 cents, and versus when everybody else is paying $1, because you understand what thing, the traits that a buyer has in combination that makes it basically every time someone sees your ad at that point relevant enough that they're going to click at 2-3% of the time that an ad's shown, versus the 0.2% of the time that other people get when they show their ads to a more broader audience that don't know as much about your market and your customers than as you do. So you definitely want to get a review. So you'll have to send out a product to these influencers, but just know that sending the product out or delivering that a sample service to an influencer isn't going to get them to share it on their channel. You're going to have to give them the free product or service. You're going to have to hope they like it, and you're going to have to pay them, you know, 5-10 grand to actually do a video. Usually you want a dedicated video, but even if it's a part of a video, you should still take it in order for them to give that review. And basically that's what you need if you want to be able to make good money. So for these type of businesses, combined with getting an actual review, it's actually quite profitable. For everybody else where there's a defined market and you're not battling, it's not an uphill battle of trying to get people to believe what you're saying, use paid online ads. That's pretty much the best way for me to boil down which one of these things that you should use. So, and then if you are going to go the influencer route, just to give you some basic tips here, you always want to test 5 to 10 influencers out. Why? Because you may get unlucky with one influencer. Every influencer that you have review your product or service has a different mix of people that follow them. It could be in the same niche. I could have 5 different influencers in the hair regrowth space, and all 5 is going to have just its own signature of different watchers, viewers, whatever you want to call them. So, and they're different enough, you may actually find if you just test it out on one, thinking, oh, if I test it out on one and I see it works, I'll continue doing this with other ones. That person just simply it may skew to people that have lower income, for instance, and you just end up not making money because of that one simple little thing. Whereas if you wouldn't have been so quick to dismiss and tried this out for 5 different influencers in the hair regrowth space, you would end up actually finding that 2 of the 5 worked and the other 3 didn't, and you should go ahead and contact the rest of the hair regrowth influencers in that space altogether, because obviously 40% of what you try ends up working, and I want to do the rest. And of course, by the way, if you could go out there and get 10 influencers to review your product and review it well, that's all going to be ranked on Google when somebody searches for your product and like the word reviews next to it. And once people do that, the conversion rate you're going to get from other traffic you get to your website is going to be amazing, because there's a lot of people that are going to look for reviews before they buy, and if they go ahead and see 10 other really well-known influencers reviewing your product or service, it's going to be a gimme. Like 99% of the time, that person's going to go ahead with their purchase at that point in time. Like I said, and it can fix a reputation issue, going back to that. If you have a bad review or bad average review scores on Google or whatever, those that show up on the first page there, like the actual reviews from the influencers, will kind of bury the other negative information there as well, just as a side thing. So anyway, definitely test a few out just so that you truly know if this can work for you. And then assume whatever sales that you got that come through, because most people use a discount code for the influencer. They say, here's the discount code I want you to give, and sometimes they'll do that to give them a commission, but really it's about tracking your sales. You tell them, you could give them this discount code and say, if you use this discount code, you get 10% off your order, so that you can track the sales from that individual influencer and from that individual mention down to the to the actual mention of your company. And when I say mention, I mean the actual review that they're giving, so that you know if it works and know if you should buy another one later on from that person, or maybe just a mention from them later on, or and just to identify of the 5 you did, which one delivered what result, so you know in the future if you're going to get other influencers, which ones should you get that are to replicate your success basically to other influencers. We need this one works, so let's get other influencers like this. But anyway, as far as the discount code, a lot of people think that if the influencer gives out a discount code for you to track your sales with, that's what sales you got. And I'm telling you, way too many people put too much stock into online tracking of results. Only 10 to 50% of the sales that you get through the specialized discount code you give the influencer are going to be from the people who use that discount code that you gave out. The other 50 to 90% of the sales you get from that influencer's review that they did for you is going to come from people not using the discount code. Because even the people that seen the review and wanted to buy, a lot of them just aren't going to use the discount code. Furthermore, that mention is going to be seen in Google search results, and there's going to be a lot of other ways that people ultimately, referrals that came from that original review and so forth, that people are just going to end up using the discount code at the end of the day. There's a number of different reasons, and it'll vary by market. So just don't fall for the fallacy of thinking the discount code is going to show you what sales you got, because a bunch of people just aren't going to use it. They don't care to use it. The influencers, boy, they're going to buy that product. They're not buying to get a discount. They're just going to go Google your company, go ahead and buy. And then if you're not knowing any better, you're just going to assume, well, my brand ad delivered the sale, not the influencer review that they did of your product or service. So that's another thing to kind of know. And then go extending from that, MER or MER, marketing efficiency ratio, is a much better measurement tool to see if your influencer marketing is profitable, and then furthermore doing the MER measurement one mention at a time. So marketing efficiency ratio is simply the ratio of what you're spending to advertise divided by your sales, okay? And it's generally factored by looking at everything you're spending to advertise and market your company divided by total sales, and you get that ratio, right? And that kind of tells you where you're at, so that if you're going to go ahead and do another advertising campaign or whatnot, you can do it, and then over the next 30 days, you can see if that ratio changes. Does the ratio get better? What you're typically trying to do, right, is if you're profitable, just get the sales to go up, but that ratio to stay the same, because that allows you to scale your company doing it. So in other words, it's bringing in just as many sales as your previous promotions are that are profitable. It allows you to just now have a higher level of sales coming in because you got this influencer doing the review of your product or service, if that makes sense. So as it comes to measuring this, what I would do is I would find out what that ratio is of my total gross sales in my company divided by everything I'm spending on my advertising right now. And then I would do just one influencer review video or post on Instagram or what have you, and then see how if my overall sales go up, did they spike immediately the day of posting that? And for whatever my sales spike, I'm going to assume the difference between what I'm typically seeing that day versus what it was this day, because what it was this day as basically what sales that influencer post did for your business, so to say. That's going to be my much preferred way to know how much leverage that this influencer is giving me to generate extra sales for my business. And then I'm going to do that for every influencer review. So I'm not going to do influencer reviews all at once. I'm going to do one, see how much my sales goes up. Do another one, see how much my sales goes up. And as long as my sales go up as fast as my costs on the marketing costs go up, then I'm happy, because I'm making more profit that way. If the sales are not going up as fast as my costs are going up, then obviously I know that it's not working. I need to pivot. Most people would just give up, but a lot of times it's just going to be to figure out, like I was saying before, which influencers work versus don't work. And but if you try 5 or 10 different influencers out and nothing works, when you try one, that didn't work, try another one, oh, that didn't work, try another one, oh, that didn't work, then maybe at that point you either realize what you're selling isn't successful, if you haven't really gotten much traction yet in your company overall, or the better thing would be, if you have had traction in the past, trying to leverage using paid ads instead of influencer marketing specifically. So And then as the last thing to mention here on this video, in terms of influencer marketing specifically, you want to use customer lists to see which influencers you should use versus not use. So I mentioned I would give you several examples of different influencer campaigns we were using at my company with different people, since we help guide people with their overall efforts to integrate that in with the PPC that we help clients manage mostly and directly. So basically what you can do with Google, not many people know this, is you could take your customer list that you have right now, or client list if you will, and then as long as you have their email addresses or cell phone numbers, you can upload that to Google's system, and in the Audience Insights menu inside your ad account on Google Ads, they will tell you all the individual traits that make your customer list or client list unique in terms of their affinities, what they're normally in market for. So in other words, what do they buy when they're looking for stuff that you have to sell as well? And those are very, very important, because you can then use that to identify which influencers that you specifically want to have review your product. Or of course, you could obviously use that to power your paid ad campaigns. We had a company that sells a locking mailbox so that people can get packages. The mail person can put it into a locking mailbox that people can't get into unless you have, basically like a key or whatnot there. And for the influencer campaign, by looking at the audience insights there on Google, which are free, we found out a bigger sub-segment within our customers that we've got were people that business travel a lot, which makes sense, because a lot of these things will make sense. We realized, that's because people that are on business trips a lot of times can't get to their mail right away, and this really helps them. So instead of just getting in front of any random audience and any themed influencer out there that does YouTube channels on any random topic having to do with like home goods and stuff like that, we got specifically, and this was just one of several segments that we did this in, but one of the main segments that was profitable for us was taking the information about business travelers, and we know how that was an important subsegment of the customer list we have, to where like 20 to 25% of our customers for that particular product are people that are business travelers. We got in front of people that are catered to, talking to and giving tips to people who travel for business a lot. So there you go, that's a perfect example. We did obviously the same thing with the paid ads. We did many times in most markets, I'll say, it's very rare we'll just do just influencer marketing or just paid ads. And there's a lot of markets we just do paid ads. It's usually like 95% of the time just paid ads versus just influencer marketing, if you will. But it's very rare that we do influencer marketing and we don't also do paid ads with it. So it's either just paid ads or influencer marketing and paid ads, because paid ads almost always works, even though it's tougher to get to work. Because there's so many things you can do, and there'll be some small part of what we can selling that will work on paid ads, even though we can't do everything we would basically want with paid ads for the limitations like we have in this list here potentially. So we'll mainly try to scale with influencer marketing, but we still do a little bit of paid ads, cherry picking here and there, the stuff that's like really obvious and easier to get to work. But anyway, in the paid ads for the locking mailbox product, we got in front of people on YouTube, running YouTube ads for people that are also business travelers. While they're watching other videos on YouTube, they would see our product, and so forth and so forth. In terms of using that information to power our paid ads, we use that information to decide which influencers we wanted to review our product with, if you will. So anyway, that's something else to consider with the influencer marketing. Just like with the paid ads, 70% of your results is going to be down to finding the right audience. You can use the customer data you have to to figure out what those right audiences are. And for influencer marketing, it's picking the perfect right influencer that has the audience you want. And then on the paid ad side, it's of course adding enough things in conjunction of like what your person needs to be that makes them the perfect prospect, and then getting in front of them that way. So influencer marketing and paid ads both have their place. Generally, you can get some aspect of both to work if you really wanted it to. So it just depends on what you're selling ultimately, and are you in one of these areas where it would make sense. And even if you're not, you probably still can get influencer marketing to work. But if you're in these areas, you might gravitate toward influencer marketing only at first. Whereas if you're not in one of these areas, I'm probably gravitating to paid ads at first. And then when you hit a roadblock with how far you can scale with each other, with whatever one you start out with, I'll try to do the other one and see what I can work out there, because we've hit a roadblock, we've hit a ceiling on what we can earn from what we started out with. So that hopefully puts in perspective influencer marketing versus paid ads, which one will actually work better for you and make more money, and wrap it up with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you liked the video, I'd appreciate it if you would give it a thumbs up, and also consider subscribing, as I have a lot of other videos on this channel about how to make money with paid ads on different platforms, Facebook, TikTok, and so forth. And it's coming from myself managing several dozen ad accounts on different platforms on an ongoing basis for our clients, to give you the information you need to have to make millions of dollars running online ads for your business. And so we have to guarantee results for our clients at our firm, because that's exactly what we do here. Nobody else is doing that. And the stuff that we use to guarantee results for our clients is the exact same strategies I give you on this channel to do. So it's the best information you're going to find on YouTube or online in general about how to actually make money in an actionable way that you can follow online in general for you to make those millions with your company, at your company, using the power of online ads to do it. And if you like the channel, you'll also like my blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog. You can also find great information coming from myself on how to make money for your company running ads for your business. Beyond that, if you have any questions about anything I covered here today, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel, usually within a couple days' time. If you are looking for somebody that's excellent at running paid ads for businesses and need help running paid ads for your business, and you don't have time or don't want to spend the time watching my videos here to learn, reach out to me at my firm at guaranteeppc.com. I'd be happy to look over your stuff and see if there's a fit there where we can work together, where we'll take payment once we've increased the sales results on your company and campaigns, as that's what we specialize here at my firm. We also partner with a lot of companies to where we'll take a percentage of your sales increase at your company by and through running paid ad strategies that already work, that we know work in your industry already, and to grow your sales and scale your company with those individual strategies. And so ultimately, nothing either way, and how we work together has to necessarily come out of pocket, and we can earn our fees, so to say, out of what you're already making for your company. So if you're interested in seeing if we can work together, of course we don't work with all companies. You got to have a good product or service that looks like it'll really work with the right advertising. But if you want to see if we can work together, reach out to me at my firm, guaranteeppc.com, and I'll look over what you have at the very least and let you know what results we can get for you before getting paid, and in general, as we don't charge for that assessment. As a side, before I do wrap this up, I also, by the way, have paid campaigns I've been offering to people on this channel and in general, that if you're just looking for great results in an industry, we've worked in several hundred industries already since I've started doing ads 15 years ago. And we have proven campaigns in certain industries, and if you're in a fairly common industry, instead of doing all the work that you're doing now and having to read how to make good sales with online ads for yourself, you can just use the proven version of what works for your industry you copy and paste the campaigns and landing pages that we have for that exact industry you're in into your account and get predictable results for yourself with literally almost no work. And we basically only charge a one-time fee for those templates. So if you're interested in that type of thing, reach out to me. I could let you know what results we got in your industry before even having to purchase anything like that from us. And ultimately, you can do what a lot of people are doing. If you are struggling in your industry and you're thinking about a switch, you can use one of our campaign templates that work and then do what several people have done with them, using those templates that we offer, and outsource all the work to somebody else in their local area for a local service company campaign that we would have, and charge 10% of what everything that person they're outsourcing the work to is making for their cut, and use the 10% to cover the cost of the ad spend that you're paying to run the ads. And ultimately, so you basically almost have a passive income business using a campaign that we spent years optimizing to get to where it would produce excellent results. And then you partner with somebody to do all the work. You just ultimately run the campaign. Because you have the campaign that works, you can actually take 10% of the sales for yourself and have the person you outsource the work to already very happy that you're able to provide all that work to them. So it's a great business opportunity for somebody who wants to get into business, that is a surefire way to make money, basically. But I'll wrap it up with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you on the next video where we have another great strategy for you then. See you later.